Hi guys, welcome to Game On. As you can tell from our spooky lighting, it is the month of October and we're doing another installment of our horror-themed game videos.
So stay tuned. Matt, oh wise DM God, how do I make a horror game?
I feel mocked. Yeah, so what we're going to talk about here when I reel myself back in here. What is scary? What makes a scary game? What elements can you work into? And we've talked about this a little bit in previous videos. But yeah, let's kick around some ideas that make for the best scary feel game setting. Number one may seem obvious. It is simply the unknown. Uncertainty
Oh,
is...
I didn't know that.
And now you do, so you're no longer frightened.
Oh.
Uncertainty is always disquieting. Look, preserving the mystery in a game is key to getting that horror feel, right?
Yep.
So to do that, there's some basic things. Dole out the info sparingly, Don't give your players too much too soon. Use misdirection and confusion to your advantage. I mean, you want to give them what they need in the game, but you don't want to make it easy, and you want to make them work for it. And definitely, and this is one that you pointed out, but I mean, this is the golden rule of horror. Definitely don't reveal your monsters completely, and definitely not too soon. You pull the curtain back too soon, you'll just let all the tension air out of the game, and you'll never get it back.
Yeah.
So be careful with that. Think about this. Jaws, like one of the all-time classic scary monster-y movies, right? Why does it work? Because you don't see the shark. You don't see but little bits and pieces of shark. For the first 2 hours of the movie, you don't see any shark. And then at the end, boom, big reveal, you see the shark. And it became one of the all-time great movies that way. So learn from Steven Spielberg. He's a fairly smart guy, good at his job. Don't give it away too soon. Don't show him the monster.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of setting the mood with ambience.
And like lighting?
Lighting, sound. We do have a whole bunch of playlists that we have for sound, as well as handouts.
Yeah. Well, I'm also sitting in a creaky chair, so there's that too.
Yeah. But yeah, I think a really good way to really set the stage, and we did this for the Haunt game that we ran here.
Stay tuned for more on that.
That setting the scene with the ambience, the sound, the lighting, it helps the players kind of ease into the mood that they're supposed to play a horror game.
Well, and ease into it and then stay in it, which is what you need. Like, you don't want people falling out of character or falling out of the vibe of the setting because they can't maintain it. And so giving them the surroundings that kind of helps paint the picture for them reminds them to stay in the moment and remember this is supposed to be a spooky, creepy, uncomfortable setting. So
Hence why it was so hard to run Curse of Strahd at Gamer's Gambit.
Yeah,
under bright fluorescent lights, and
as much as we loved that gaming store and miss it now that it's gone, I mean, it was a retail establishment with gaming tables in the back, so brightly lit and like you would expect it would be. And so trying to do a horror themed game there with all the background noise of other gaming tables doing other stuff, it was a little bit of a challenge. So I pity you for that, because Justin was running that and it was a struggle at times.
We did what we could.
But so okay, other things that make setting. You talked about setting with visual aids and with sound effects and lighting and all that kind of stuff, is sort of physical controls.
Yep.
But there's like material type things in the game that you can work with. Obviously, horror hinges on being kind of disturbing and creepy, right?
Yeah.
So getting an authentic horror vibe requires that you get people a little bit out of their comfort zone. Like, you got to skeeve them out a little bit. If they feel too comfortable, they're not going to feel anxious. They're not going to feel worried. They're not going to let their minds wander and have that uncertainty work in your favor. Of course, that has to be done in moderation.
Yep.
Right? Like, you don't want to creep somebody out so much that they stop having fun. But you also want to push the boundaries a little bit. Don't make it too safe.
Yeah. You want the game to be creepy, but you don't want to be a creep.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to end up, having to have a conversation with somebody because they stormed out. Yeah. And you don't want to make somebody unhappy. You want to make them uneasy.
Yeah. That's why it's nice to try to talk to your players. If you don't have a full session 0, at least try to talk to them individually.
Probably more important with a horror game
yeah.
than almost any other. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Hey, there's going to be some stuff in here that kind of pushes the boundaries.
Yes.
Are you okay with that? Because if you're not, you don't have to come.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you come down on dismemberment? Just a question. Yeah. So one of the things that I think is kind of related to the disturbing creepiness factor is a sense of loss of control or helplessness, powerlessness. That a lot of horror material hinges on that kind of feel too. And so you want to put your players at the mercy of the unknown, and their survival is at stake at figuring something out, or escaping from something, or defeating something, or getting lucky, or being smart, or all of the above, right? So again, that's a good way to nudge them out of their comfort zone and raise the stakes for them. They have something to lose. I mean, literally, they have their character to lose, but just that feeling of power and control, pulling that away from them raises the stakes. Now, but you always want to give them the opportunity to reclaim power, regain control, and be masters of their own fate. Because if you don't, they get disconnected from the story. They start thinking of themselves as audience rather than players.
Yeah.
And then you kind of lose them. So you got to give them the temptation of being able to get back into being in control.
I can tell you one of the big things that I really like to do as a game master, and that is to take something that the players know and then to make it so that it's not what they think they know. Here's just a quick example. Oh my gosh, a werewolf's chasing us. We should shoot it with silver bullets. Nope. Silver doesn't kill it, heals it. Just to really throw them off.
Well, look, certainly taking tropes and switching them around, messing with preconceived notions.
Because you can't really get rid of that. Just the preconceived notions, you can't really get rid of that.
Yeah, no, especially with a well-known and well-established image, right? Like a werewolf or vampire. It's like, oh, garlic, you thought that was going to work. Not so much.
Yeah.
But, things like that. Like, let people set traps for themselves by thinking they know too much, and then you can kind of pull it away from them or use it against them, and that can create that sensation of powerlessness. And let them think they're the hero when they come charging into the scenario, only to find out they're the victim.
Yeah, it's in my opinion, it's easier to change how the monster acts than it is to try to get your players to roleplay that they don't know how to kill a troll.
Right.
With fire. So.
Absolutely right. You can't ask people to role play forgetting things they know.
Yeah.
It's just,
especially when it's ingrained in your
some
mind
people
so
can
well.
do it some of the time, but you can't consistently do that. So you need to help them out with that sort of misdirection. I've talked about this a lot of times. Containment. I cannot stress enough that the tension created by being in restricted spaces, trapped in with a monster, that is the single best element in creating, a horror-themed themed game, and honestly, intention in any game. I mean, that's a dungeon crawl, right? That's how it works.
And like you said earlier, they shouldn't see the whole monster most of the time.
Yes, don't reveal the whole monster.
Maybe they'll see the tail or something, but
Yeah.
something's in here.
Right.
And why are all these dead bodies look like their hearts were eaten out?
Here's one that actually ties into the haunt. Taking comforting. This is not a spoiler. This is taking comforting and non-threatening images and turning them around on the players, right?
Literally.
Yeah. I mean, look. Children, cute animals, harmless old ladies, clowns. Okay, wait. Maybe clowns are always creepy, but you get the point I'm trying to make, right? Like things that aren't threatening, and then you use them as a scary item to, like, you know, instill fear and creepiness.
We didn't expect that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's part of the misdirection thing, right? It's the unknown, or the things you think you know and it turns out you didn't. That stuff can be really, really useful for horror.
But here's this, because we've talked about how I like Lovecraft so much. A lot of Lovecraft stories have a not so satisfying ending. How about playing an RPG? If I'm playing as a hero, should I have, or even as a not hero, a victim, should I have a satisfying ending at the end?
Well, I mean, there's a personal preference element to this, but my personal preference is a game should always have some sort of conclusion, something that people can grasp and accept. There can be ambiguities, but the central theme of the game shouldn't be left ambiguous.
Okay.
Unless it is a sequence. If it's a game that has a sequel, right? If it's a chapter in a larger story, then absolutely leave them hanging. Leave a cliffhanger. But if it's
kind of like the Haunt trilogy that we'll be reviewing soon.
Quite a bit like that. Like I said before, stay tuned because that's coming. But yeah, so I want to have a satisfying ending. It doesn't have to be a happy ending. It doesn't have to be a successful ending, right? You can TPK if you want to, but you don't leave people with big questions left about what the hell just happened, because that won't feel satisfying. If they feel that way, oftentimes they'll feel like, oh, I just wasted 5 hours of my life playing that game because I didn't come out the other side any smarter than when I started.
Fair enough.
So I want there to be some resolution. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be successful, happy, or whatever. Okay. But I want there to be something. Yeah. Unlike Lovecraft, he's perfectly comfortable to leave you with, like, I just read this story and I have no idea what happened.
Yep.
And it's not even a criticism. It's like part of the style.
What he does.
It's just what he does. So, but yeah, I don't think that works so well in a game.
Okay.
But yeah. So there you have it. There's a bunch of elements that can be worked into and into a horror setting and give you some successful tools to set the mood and give people the feel and the vibe that they want.
Yeah. Cool. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Please.
Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, especially through the crazy lighting. Hopefully that's not too distracting.
And game on.
Game on, guys. Thank you.